ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಾವು ಕಳೆದ ಸೆಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಫಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಫಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅದರ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆಗಳು, ಅದರಿಂದ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಉಪಯೋಗಗಳು, ದುರುಪಯೋಗಗಳು, ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಸ್ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಫಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು 4 ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಪನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಿಯರಾಗಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನಾವು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಥರ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಥರದ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಇನ್ನು ಕಳೆದ ಸೆಷನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಿಯರಾಗಿ 4 ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸನ್ನು ಭಾಳ ಒಂದು ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಫಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ವರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೋದ ಸೆಷನಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಅಂಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಹೆಡ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಏನೇನು ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ವರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಈಗ ಈ ಸೆಷನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಮೆಥಡ್ನ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಹಿಯರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಫಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. how it is prepared in account form we will see in this session. ಇಲ್ಲಿ under this method fund flow statement is prepared as follows. ಫಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟನ್ನು ಅಂದರೆ ಟಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಕಾಲಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆರ್ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ 4 ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕಾಲಮ್ಸ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್. ನಾವು ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್. ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ವಿ ಟೇಕ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ we are taking outflows or the application of funds. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್, ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಬರಿತೀವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೌ ದಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ಡ್. ಯುಟಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆರ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಈಸ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡೆಡ್ ಆನ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವಿಚ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ received the fund will be recorded on debit side. Here what are the sources, first we will see. Sources alli first share capital. Share capital means it is issue of equity shares and preference shares. Illi issue of equity, by issuing equity shares and preference shares automatically we get fund. ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಶೇರ್ಸನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ನಮಗೇನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಫಂಡ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಡ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್, ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಬೆಂಚರ್ಸ್. ಡಿಬೆಂಚರ್ಸ್ನ ನಾವೇನಾದರೂ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ 100% ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ದಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್, ಆಪ್ರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಆಪ್ರೇಷನ್. ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಆಪ್ರೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ third step. We have seen how to calculate the funds from operation. We have seen how to calculate funds from operation by using 3 methods. Statement method, and second one is adjusted profit and loss account method, and finally the direct method we have seen. 3 ಮೆಥಡಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ದಟ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ನಾನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್. ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೀನ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಷನ್ನೇ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ಆಪ್ರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಆಲ್ ನಾನ್ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬಾರೋವಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಲೋನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಮ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ಸ್, ಸೇಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಸೇಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಅಸೆಟ್, ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ಏನಾದರೂ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್. ದೇರ್ ಫೋರ್ whenever or from any source the funds, if this funds comes in the business, it is called as source of fund. And now on the credit side, we will see the uses of funds or application of funds. So here ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ದಿ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈಡ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ಡ್ at the time of operating loss of funds. So if there is any operating loss, ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮೂರನೇ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಏನಾದರೂ if there is any, we get if any loss, such loss is recorded on credit side. And non-operating expenses, so these are the expenses like depreciation, and if there is any loss on sale of asset or transfer to general reserve, such are the expenses, non-operating expenses. If any repayment of debenture takes place, repayment of preference share capital takes place, or repayment of loans, so whenever we pay the funds outside, such case is called as application of funds. So here repayment of long term and medium term deposits, so if deposits are repaid, so automatically funds goes out, so it is called as application of fund. And if there is any long term investment, purchase of any long term investment, automatically if we invest a fund in any projects, so that time also the funds goes out, automatically the funds are used, and it is called as utilization of fund. Purchase of fixed assets, if you purchase any fixed assets, that time also the funds goes out. And increase in working capital, if there is any increase in the working capital, that time also the funds flow outside. So therefore here, by recording all the sources of funds on debit side and the applications of funds on credit side, and we here when we balance it, so automatically the balance will be equals to decrease or increase in the working capital. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಏನಾದರೂ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ, ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಮಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್, ಅದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಿಗರ್ ಆಗಿ ಉಳಿಬೇಕು. ಸೊ whenever we close this fund flow statement, here one trick is used. What we get from the statement of schedule of changes in working capital, that answer should be balance. We have to get the balance in the fund flow statement. And whenever put the same amount which is taken from the statement of changes in working capital and record in this fund flow statement, automatically the account should be tallied. If the account is tallied, it is right answer, otherwise our answer is wrong. So next, treatment of various items. So how some of the important items which are treated in this fund flow statement. First, provision for taxation. So here, as per the Companies Act 2013, provision of taxation is treated as current liability. It is treated as current liability. As current liability, it represents an immediate obligation of the company to pay tax to the government. Here, the company has to pay compulsory the tax, and it will appear in the schedule of changes in the working capital like other current liabilities. So this provision for taxation appears as other current liabilities in changes in working capital statement, and no further treatment is required while preparing the fund flow statement. Only in the schedule of changes in working capital, in that statement, this provision for taxation shown as other current liabilities, and it is treated as a current liability. So next, it is treated as current liability because it represents in the short period, and it is shown in the schedule of changes in working capital. So here, dividend, so no further treatment in the fund flow statement. Interim dividend, no further treatment in the fund flow statement. And if there is interim dividend, an interim dividend means a dividend paid or declared in between two annual general meeting is called as interim dividend if the dividend is announced between two annual general meetings, so such dividend is called as interim dividend, and treatment it is added back to profit while calculating funds from operation, and it appears on the application side of the fund flow statement. So here this interim dividend is shown on the application side of the fund flow statement. Provision against current assets. So provision for loss on stock, provision for bad debts and doubtful debts. Such provision should be deducted from the opening and closing balance of current assets, such as the stock and the debtors. And the net amount of current asset is shown on the schedule changes in the working capital. It does not require any further treatment in the fund flow statement. Only these current assets are shown in the fund flow schedule of changes in working capital. The amount of opening and closing balance of current assets, it may taken as gross in the schedule of changes in the working capital, but the opening and closing of provision against the current assets shall have to be taken current liabilities in the schedule of changes in the working capital. If the excess provision has been created, it may be treated as appropriation of profits, and it should be added to the profit while calculating funds from operation. So investment of two types, they are temporary and long-term investments. So we have already seen the investments are two types. One is temporary investment, second one is long-term investment. Temporary investment treatment here, it is treated as current asset. We know already that the first is only the current investment. Under this, temporary and long-term investments are taken. It is treated as current assets, and it is shown in schedule of changes in working capital, and it will not appear in the fund flow statement. Long-term investment treatment. So it is purchase of investment is treated as application of funds. So it is shown in the fund flow statement if there is any purchase of the investment. Sale proceed of investment as a source of funds. So here, if there is purchase or sale of investment, such purchase or sale should be shown or recorded in the fund flow statement, or else sale of fixed asset is a source, it will appear in source side of the fund flow statement. Loss on fixed asset, it is added to profit while calculating funds from operation. Premium on redemption of preference share and debentures, it is added to profit while calculating funds from operation. So premium on redemption of preference shares and debentures, it is shown application side in fund flow statement. Premium on redemption means repayment or application of fund. So non-trading receipt, dividend fund, dividend refund of tax, rent received, such items are treated as sources of funds. So if any amount received, such as tax received, refund of tax, rent received, dividend received, all the things are incomes, non-operating incomes, and these are shown on the source of funds in fund flow statement. These are the shares issued to the existing shareholders in certain proportion. By receiving anything in cash from them, such bonus shares are issued from existing balance of various accounts as capital redemption reserve, share premium, general reserve, profit and loss account. So issue of bonus shares does not have any effect on the fund flow statement. So purchase of business. So concern may purchase the continuing business with fixed assets and current assets. So here the one business can purchase another continuing business with fixed assets and current assets. Charges in fixed assets indicates purchase or sale of fixed assets, purchase of current assets form. The issue of share capital will be shown on the source side valuation of opening stock. So whenever the sale is made, the funds will come in. Purchase of current assets and the issue of share capital, the funds will come in the business. So these are shown on the source side. Sometimes stock may be valued less than cost, more than cost. In such cases, it is necessary to bring the value of opening stock as proper cost. So here valuation of stock is very, very important. There may be a less in the value of stock, and there may be more than the cost in the value of stock. So such cases are treated as like this. If stock is valued less than cost price, in such cases the stock should be valued at proper cost and the revised value of stock should be taken for the purpose of preparing schedule of changes in working capital. Increase in the value of stock will also be credited to adjusted profit and loss account for the calculation of funds from operations. Its stock is valued more than cost. In such cases also stock should be valued at proper cost and then the revised value will be taken for the purpose of preparing schedule of changes in working capital. The decrease in the value of stock will be debited to adjusted profit and loss for the preparation of or for the calculation of funds from operation. So like this, some of the important terms which are used for the purpose of preparation of these statements, and also we have seen all the formats and all the steps for the preparation of fund flow statement, and we have seen clearly or studied clearly how the fund flow statement is prepared finally. And now it is time for the solving the problem. So because after studying the theoretical aspect on the fund flow statement, now we will see some of the important exercise problems. We will select some exercise problems on different methods, and we will see how the different statements are prepared and how we get a decrease or increase in the working capital. And because if we study practically, then only it will be effective. So theoretical means just reading the theory, it will not help for to get thorough knowledge on about these formats or the statements. So therefore, from in the next session we will see, we will select some accounting problems and we will see how these different statements are prepared and how the funds from operation or the fund flow statement or the changes in working capital, how it takes place, we will see one by one. Thank you.